Just acknowledge you get money from these people. Don't treat them like the enemy. It doesn't mean you need to roll over to every rich guy. I don't think you should.
Zach Abraham, welcome back.
Good to be back.
Yeah,
Good to be back.
Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Yay, I guess. Fine. I mean, I think you're a bigger fan than I am, but I think it's cool. I like when my friends are happy and everybody's super jazzed about it. I will say, most disappointing Super Bowl ads ever of my life. How did you feel?
There were no zingers. I got to be honest with you. There's not one. We had some people over, so I wasn't paying too much. And I'm like, being a guy that played college football and now that I coach, I watch football differently. So I'm so locked into the game. But usually you still notice some. There's not one that sticks out. There isn't one that I'm like laughing about still today. And that's not, I mean, I would say that I personally felt like the commercials were about as good as the halftime show.
Yeah, well, I watched the Turning Point USA halftime show, so I'll have to go back and watch Bad Bunny.
So did I.
But the thing that stuck out to me, we talk about AI on this show all the time. So many of them, I mean, there was commercials for AI, but there were also a lot of commercials made with AI. And to me, it sucks all of the life out of the commercials. You could tell the ones, and I mean, look, some of them, it has to be AI, like the polar bear. We get it. We never thought it was a real polar bear. You know what I mean? But then there's ones where it's like, you can tell it's people's faces, like celebrity faces, like made with AI to make them look younger or whatever it is. It totally ruins it for me. It just doesn't feel genuine or sincere or anything.
It's not as impressive. You know what I mean?
100%.
And it's not as funny because you're like, somebody just typed that into a computer.
Yeah.
You know?
The Verge wrote, AI-generated ads dropped the ball at this year's Super Bowl. Not a single one of these commercials made betting on AI seem like a good idea. Just, yet another reason. But yeah, there was just something about them, and I think it is that element of it felt fake. And I'm so sick of seeing AI crap on the internet. And I mean, I get it. It probably makes making the Super Bowl ads much less expensive, but it just made them much worse.
I mean, I know if I was spending that kind of money on an ad, I'm not going to be like, all right, guys, let's cut corners on the content. You know what I mean? Very, very odd, especially when you're talking about as many eyeballs. That was always one of the fun things about it, were the commercials and the ads and the fact that they're hilarious. But if you know it's just computer generated images, it's just not, there's just no there.
Yeah, with the one exception, maybe you didn't see it, but they did the one with the old original OG Jurassic Park cast. And it was almost like envisioning what would have happened if the power hadn't gone out at Jurassic Park. So that was funny, but you could tell, they had probably had to use AI to make those actors look young again, or maybe they just used AI in general. And obviously it's dinosaurs and stuff. But I thought that was it was very creative. And was that Xfinity, I think, where he's like, we're just going to replug this and reboot it. And then all of a sudden everything's safe again. Boom. That was the only one that was like memorable to me. So I'm okay with AI being used for polar bears and for dinosaurs and for the bald eagle, but I'm not okay with AI being used on people's faces. It just doesn't.
The eagle, was that a Super Bowl ad? But it was a recent one.
Well,
the eagle on the back of the horse.
It came out before the Super Bowl, and I don't know if it was leaked or just on social, but yeah, the eagle, that one was great. And then he's like,
I love that
flying. Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Almost enough to forgive Budweiser, almost enough to forgive Budweiser for the whole transgender thing. But the reason I ask about the Super Bowl ads is obviously this is, one of the biggest audiences that these companies can get. Right. I wonder if it's becoming less and less worth it though, because XXXY Athletics, which is a clothing brand that like celebrates women and men and their differences, they, I think that they weren't like NBC wouldn't give them a Super Bowl spot, I think was the issue. So they put out their ad on social media about protecting girls sports. And even before the game, it had 40 million views. And they posted it for free,
Yep. No, it does. And look, I think that this is where it's where one of the beautiful things about social media and the internet that I don't think we give enough attention to is that nobody controls information anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the other thing that you're seeing an example of is, how many millions of impressions are we going to get? Well, we can get that on our own, not even talking about you. Right. But the craziest part to me is that we've decided NBC's got to draw the line there. Well, we can't let somebody show X, Y, X, right? You're like, what?
Yeah.
Like that? of all the programming choices, you can't let the, it's just a, it's just an odd reality to be in, like that's where we're really going to draw the line, for the decency of our viewers, of
Yeah.
course.
And it's like, it's
It's just
just a
bizarre.
chromosome. Are we saying chromosomes aren't real? I have a new saying. I think XXXY should print it on their shirts, which is like, if there's a Y, it's a guy. The
Yeah.
Y
I
don't
literally,
lie. It's a
yeah,
guy.
it's with it's well, they are the people in the party of science apparently, right?
Yeah.
So we gotta go along with it. But no, I love the fact that they don't have a stranglehold on media anymore, and I love the fact that people like them in a company like them can go out and get those 40 million views without having to go kiss the ring and go through all that and pay the money.
Yep.
And the great thing, and people like you and I have been saying this for a really long time. The great thing about legacy media is just hang on long enough, and they're going to kill themselves.
Yeah.
Right? They're going to take themselves completely out of the business, and they pretty much are already there. Right? Where I mean, they are careening. Sports is literally the only thing they have left.
Yeah.
And they are just careening toward not mattering. And what's amazing to me is that they don't see that.
Yeah.
We just keep going woke and broke, man. And there has never been, like, there is no evidence to the contrary. And yet we know, and the irony here is all these people, if you scratch them deep enough, they only care about money anyway.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
100%.
So they're gonna nuke themselves, and I'm here for it, and I love it.
Yeah, my goal in life is to bankrupt the Seattle Times, is to have my show unDivided do so well the Seattle Times goes bankrupt. But also the president of the Seattle Times was down in Olympia in front of the Washington State Legislature this past week, begging for them to pass this bill that will give them grants to hire reporters and extend tax breaks for them. And I'm like, good Lord.
Why
Lord
don't, hey,
have
well, yeah,
mercy.
yeah, hey, I got an idea. If what you're asking for is for your business to do better, do a better job running your business.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe don't vilify other businesses in your newspaper in ways that are ultimately going to hurt your business. I don't know. Just some thoughts.
Yeah, that whole, like, that instinct that you feel when you're about ready to lay your dentures right into that hand that's been feeding you.
Yeah.
Maybe don't do it. Like, or, I mean, and this is really controversial, really outside the box, or focus on fair and balanced reporting. How about that?
No, it really is just too much to ask. Speaking of, though, let's continue on. We'll also kind of continue the Super Bowl theme and do some watchdogging. So, as you know, the first public hearing on the Millionaires tax, which we've talked about quite a bit on Swamp Watch, was held on Friday. Most unpopular bill in Washington state history based on pro and con registrations. More than 60,000 people registered against it. The Democrats are saying they were bots, though. Wasn't real human beings. It was bots.
No real capital
with
flight. No real bots are
Right.
against the largest tax rate in history. They
Yeah.
sound like children.
I know, it's bad. So, but one of the things, because I'm always looking for ways to get people who aren't usually politically interested or active involved. And the truth is, the Seattle Seahawks are in a precarious position right now, given the Millionaires tax. So they just won the Super Bowl, but as you know, the team is about to go up for sale. So there's already the free agency issue. This has been dealt with before when players have a choice of where to go. You don't think they're considering taxes? Of course they are. And so they could decide to go to a different team, that they're not going to get 10% off the top, that they don't have this massive tax burden. But then people are dismissing this, but Washington State, if they pass the Millionaires tax, is quickly going to be the most inhospitable state in the nation for wealth. So you really think there's a 0% chance that some rich person who buys the Seahawks don't move them out of state?
I hadn't really thought about that angle. I know that, especially now with the state of the Seahawks, it would be a tough thing to do, just because the NFL, the 30 years ago, before we won a Super Bowl, it would have been much easier.
Yeah.
But it's a much more visible, much more hype. But yeah, if you look at the average, solid middle tier, but like good player, free agent, you're probably looking at those kind of guys, like a guy like Leonard Williams, a star defensive lineman for the Hawks, a senior guy. He's making about $12 million a year, right?
Yeah.
But when we signed him as a free agent from the Giants, not as free agent, we traded for him. Anyway, got him from the Giants, so not originally from here. But if you did that now with that tax in place, that's running him an extra $1.5 million just off the top,
Yep.
right to the state. Let me say right now that I set your salary at $5 million. Okay. And you're sitting there going, that tax is going to run me an extra $450,000 to $500,000 a year. Do I want to sit here and pay that? Or do I want to go buy a 15,000 square foot place down in Phoenix with the exact same amount of money per year? Right.
Yeah.
Which one would you rather have?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're idiots. You're not even good at stealing money.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and it just, and I was thinking about this over the weekend where I'm going, like I said, you're not even good at doing the wrong thing, guys. Do you want to increase revenue? This is not going to do it. And like I said, it's going to hit you and they're going to play politics with that. Well, no, they were all wrong about the capital flight. Look at all these taxes. And then I go, let me see the B&O and excise tax from all your different counties. Let me see those.
Yeah.
Because whatever you get here, you're going to lose right one for one right out the back door of that. And like I said, net, revenues will go down. And this is the crazy thing about dealing with idiot socialists and idiot hardcore liberals is you go, guys, we don't even need to beat you. You'll do it eventually on your own because you're dumb.
100%.
And you don't and just acknowledge you get money from these people. Don't treat them like the enemy. It doesn't mean you need to roll over to every rich guy. I don't think you should. You and I have talked about that. I think there's all kinds of things you can do to get, to allow some of these bigger corporations not to avoid tax loopholes, right? Get rid of the carried interest loophole. That's on the federal level, but I'm not against governments raising money from tax revenue. I'm against them doing idiotic crap like this that is going to hurt and degrade the quality of the place that I grew up in. Yeah. And it's just stupid, right? They can afford it. And I go, it's not the way you think. You can afford to pay $10 a day for your Starbucks latte. Does that mean you want to?
Yeah.
Does that mean you're good? No, it literally is like they got a room full of fifth graders and they go, tell us how you do this. And the fifth graders tell them and they go, that's a great idea.
Yeah, that sounds nice. It sounds nice, right? And they'll ignore all the indicators that it's not going to turn out well, like when Seattle passed its payroll tax or its tax on high paying jobs. And Amazon's like, okay, but we'll move jobs. And then they moved the exact number of jobs they threatened to move. So here's another indicator that they're going to ignore. The Association for Washington Businesses surveyed its employer members in around Christmas, which is around the time they started talking about doing this Millionaires tax. They asked, so these are employers in the state of Washington, are you considering moving your personal residence out of Washington? 44% said yes. Yep. 44%. Then they asked, does your business plan to expand in Washington in the next year or two? 86% said no. We have no plans to expand. And then finally, how is your company responding to the tax increase? Because, of course, there were $14 billion in new taxes in Washington state last year, much of that on the backs of businesses. 53% said we're raising prices for customers, which Democrats also said that won't happen. Like they're just going to, out of the goodness of their heart, just absorb all these new costs that are being thrust upon them by the government.
And guess who that hurts disproportionately?
The poor and the middle class.
Because those costs are a higher percentage of their income already. Yeah. And that's why you just sit there and go, guys, and let me make something really clear too. I'm not mad because I'm going to pay the tax. I'm mad because I'm not.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm mad because I will not pay the tax. Do I want to leave? No. So I'm mad that I have to leave, but I'm also mad that you're destroying a state that I loved by doing idiotic things. Mm-hmm. I'm mad because I looked at you and said, don't touch the stove. You did, and now we got to spend the whole day in the emergency room. That's why I'm mad, right? It's not going to do anything that you want it to do. And here's the funny thing. If you weren't such whack job moronic extremists, you could actually pull this off in a pretty non-invasive way, in a way that guys like me would be like, now I'd still push against it because we don't have a revenue problem in the state. Yeah. We got a spending problem. But if the tax on the millionaires was 3%, I probably wouldn't move.
Well,
I hate the fact to admit that, but I probably would.
What's so interesting, though, is Washington state's constitution, as you know, it allows people, it's a total misnomer that we can't have an income tax in Washington. We can, it's just very limited in the scope because they treat income like property, which it is, and you can have a flat 1%. You can't, have it higher on certain people. You can't single out certain groups, and you can't go above 1%. So I guess I never understood why at the very base level they didn't just do a 1% income tax. I mean, it wouldn't bring in the amount of money they want, but it would bring in more than having no income tax. And then it would probably bring in more than taxing millionaires and having them all leave the state and take revenue with them. So I never understood why they didn't just say, okay, we'll do the 1% thing.
Yeah, well, and just look at the percentages that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. So 50% said they're considering leaving the state.
Yeah.
Okay. So you won't get any of their tax revenue. You lose 100% of the excise and B&O taxes, and property taxes and tolls and all the other forms of revenue and parking ticket revenue, all that other kind of stuff. It goes out the window. Okay. So just do that math right there. If you get the income tax from the 50% that remain, you're still negative.
Yeah.
You're still negative. It's just the numbers. And it's a strange thing that has existed on the Democratic side of the aisle for a very long time. I don't think this is new, but there's always been this thing. It's not, they don't just want this to succeed. They have to do it this way, right? They have to do it in a way that they're sticking it to the rich guy. And like I've said over and over, it is so odd you cannot think of a business out there that has any level of success that treats its milk cows and its best customers the way government treats taxpayers. Yeah. It is a strange, strange deal. And especially when you're one of those people putting in all that money, especially when you're one of those rich guys that doesn't pay his fair share. And then they tell you that, and you just want to flip them off.
Yeah.
And I don't, because I'm a good Christian man, but you want to flip them off and go, I work every year till June before I actually start earning for myself.
Yeah.
And that's not my fair share. What's enough? Is it 60%?
And something you've brought up a lot in anticipation of this hearing was one of the most common bits of testimony from the public during the hearing, which was from these smaller business owners who it's passed through, and they're saying, look, I'm not a millionaire, and you're going to tax me on money I'm trying to keep in an account to keep a business afloat. That was, there was a lot of really compelling testimony in that regard, almost where I'm like, Democrats, there's no way they can ignore that. Because there's this woman sitting in her house, she's got a totally normal kitchen behind her. I'm like, that is not a millionaire's kitchen. You know what I mean? That is not a millionaire's kitchen. And she's talking about how the fact that she will pay this tax. And it was just this very stark sort of visual that hopefully it gets Democrats maybe rethinking at least some carve outs for small businesses. I don't know.
They all have vision, like instead of visions of sugar plums dancing in their head, visions of sticking it to rich guys, the rich Amazon. And I go, those guys aren't going to pay it, guys. They get 70% of their income in stock comp that vests on a 5-year rolling schedule. So they'll be making $1.5 million to $2 million a year, but will never register above $1 million in income in any one given year. And if they do, watch them. They'll just stretch the vesting schedule from 5 to 7 years. And guess who are the only companies that can do that? C Corps, the biggest ones. Yeah. So once again, you've stacked the deck against the small and family-owned businesses, and you've done it with you're aiming the gun at the big guys. Big guys ain't gonna pay it. Little guys are the ones that stay. It is so economically destructive what they're doing. And that's what makes me mad. Like I said, Zach's just mad because he's got to pay. I'm not going to pay it. I'm mad because this state that is literally decaying in front of our eyes, all this will do is accelerate that process.
Yeah. The other really funny bit of testimony, the left always finds allegedly rich people to come and say, yeah, this is a good tax. I want to pay it. So there was this nerdy looking guy who comes and he testifies. And a Republican lawmaker said, hey, can I ask you a question? Which is kind of unusual when you come for public testimony that they stop you and say, I want to ask a question.
But you said that you should pay the tax and you would like to pay the tax. What's stopping you from paying the tax right now? I mean, you could, without having legislation mandated for you, why don't you just do it voluntarily?
Because I want to be a part of society that asks and creates a progressive revenue base to provide prosperity for all Washingtonians.
Like, what's stopping you from writing a check to the state of Washington?
Pay it.
He had no good answer for it. You know, it's like, if you're so generous, you could be writing a check to the general fund.
Yeah, I'd like just do it. And here's the I've said this to debates. I've said this in debates many times where I go, have you ever been on IRS's website? And they go, well, yeah, and I go, you realize there's a form to fill out. And I used to know the name of it, but they go, there's a form. If you want to donate the money, you can go do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's raise my taxes? Trying to sound in front of the, Buffett's even pulled this a couple times, trying to sound like Mr. Patriot. And you go, Warren, nobody's stopping you, brother. Go write the check.
Love it.
Why not? Oh, because now, well, I don't know that they'll use it. Oh, we're going, okay. All right.
The same reasons we don't want to pay it. All right, let's hit some money moves quick. You'll love this one. Oh, you'll love this one. I'm sure you saw who rang the opening bell on the New York Stock Exchange. Nicole, hit it. Sydney Sweeney. I mean, is American Eagle just a rags to riches story? I mean, literally, Sydney Sweeney, I feel like, saved that company.
That's why it was such an easy stock pick.
Yeah.
I like you're first of all, she's really, really popular. Second of all, I think one of the reasons she's popular is the way that she responds to the woke backlash. Okay. Like doesn't even care, And no, I love it. And and the harder they went after American Eagle, the sales spiked even higher. Just so everybody knows, I'm not telling you to go out and buy the stock. I mean, the thing was up 120% from where we bought it. So it's nowhere near as interesting a proposition as it was. But no, I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that until you just said that. I wasn't paying attention.
There you go. Yeah, she really held the bell down for a while. Do they always hold the bell down for that long?
Well, I mean, when you're if you're Sydney Sweeney, I guess you
can do whatever you want. They're just like, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, she got good genes.
She's got good genes.
Yeah, so
and
it was
she's
just
a racist.
it was a cool moment, and it shows American Eagle's like, no, we're not backing down. Sydney Sweeney's like, I'm not backing down. They're on the New York Stock Exchange. American Eagle behind her and ringing the bell.
I love it.
I just thought that was pretty cool. All right, Zach, good stuff. We'll see you later.
All right, thanks for having me.